lend the floor over to Jamestown at this time. Jamestown, our brother and sister tribe. While the Jamestown come out here and get organized. Ni kose tennisnai len grenell. Ni sayuko pasture hueles chastas titlum nusklium. Shall show touch and stachi, shall show touch and stachi. Mano white tongue in this chacha. Mano white tongue in it. Beautiful, beautiful evening that we get to share with you. I appreciate what you've done for all of us. They're right here behind me, aren't they? I knew they were back there somewhere. Okay, but we want to sincerely thank you for all the services that you have provided. For us to be healthy, you have gone way out of your way to keep the dust down where we were. We want to thank you. That's so important to us. And we want to thank you for the wonderful food that nourished our body. And so, in fact, we just want to come out here one more time. And here, it's about this one woman that came into the veterinarian's office, and she had her hands like this. It was a duck. And her tail was hanging over this hand. Head was hanging over that hand. And she says, "Oh, doc," she says, "what can you do for my duck?" He says, "Well, put it down on the table," and he says, "I'll examine it." And so she put it down. He got his stethoscope out, and he listened to all the vital organs in that duck ever so carefully. And he looks at her and he says, "Oh my, I hate to tell you because I know you know. You have this beloved duck as a pet, but your duck is dead." "Oh no," she said, "it can't be dead. It just can't be dead." He said, "Well, I'm really sorry, but I can't hear anything." And she says, "You can't just tell me that my duck is dead. You haven't gotten any machines out, you haven't got any reports, no examinations, no x-ray. I think he's in a coma." He said, "Oh," he rolled his eyes and said, "Okay, just a minute." So he went in the other room. He brought out this great big old lab, comes walking out there. The lab just didn't seem to know what he was doing. He just put his front paws right up on that table. And he just sniffed that duck ever so carefully from one end to the other and then back again. And the lab looked at him and he kind of shook his head. "Foof," he says. And okay, so the vet took him out. Pretty soon here comes the vet again. But this time he had a cat. And then he says, the cat just jumped right up on that table. He went through the same action. He sniffed that duck from one end to the other, and then he finally looked up at the veterinarian, and he said, just shook his head, jumped down, took off. So the vet followed them out, came back, and he says, I'm so sorry you've lost your pet, but your duck is dead." "Oh no, but you still haven't had any reports or x-rays." And so he just turned around and he went over to his computer and he started typing this something out. And so finally he just handed her this paper. And she says, "You mean, what is this?" And he says, "That's your invoice." "You mean you're going to charge me $150 to tell me my duck is dead?" And he says, "Now wait a minute, ma'am. If you would have believed me in the first place, it would have only cost you $20. But I had to have the lab report. I've had to have the CAT scan. And it cost $150 for that." Just thought I'd just throw that in. We've come a long way with a young group, and I'm just so darn proud of them. Yeah, we had this safety boats, and we have all of those things too. But when we got here, and along the way, the services were good. People were so welcoming. It's really a joy to be part of this. And I'm going to be sorry when it is over. But you know, I'm just going to start on next year's. And I think that's what it's done for all of us. We're just going to start on next year's. We're writing notes already to ourselves. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce to you my Jamestown crew. Look at them, so handsome and so pretty here. Yeah. And woo! Yeah, you guys believe it. Yeah. Yeah. And so anyway, they have a few things to say to you. I would like you to meet Hawkwyneth Grinnell. He's my grandson, by the way. Oh. And he has a story that he wants to tell you. And so I'm going to let him take over right now.
Hanungsung Quilson. As you all may know, this is my grandma Quilson. Give her a hand. And like she said, I would like to tell you all a story today. And you know, back home, you know, my grandma's always taught me to gather all the children and bring them down. So I'd offer up an invitation if there's any children still in the house, if they'd make a nice circle right here. And I only need one. I only need one. There we go. My grandma said that if I tell a story, I would like more. I'm sorry, I would like more. Please come down, please come down. If you want, you can sit. My grandma told me that when you're telling a story to your kids as parents, or in a classroom setting, or being as a leader of your tribe, and you're trying to express some part of culture, some part of tradition, that it only takes one person that you need to reach, you know. The more the merrier, but if there's just one, then you've done your job as a storyteller. And so, I guess I can stand there. So, I would like to tell all of you about a story about a native village up where my hometown is. If anybody knows where Jamestown is, it's up by Port Gamble between Elwha, and there's another village site. There's actually 26 Clallam villages, little known fact, and now there are only 3, but we all sing as one. And there was a village in Port Townsend, And in this village, there lived a man bigger than me, about this tall. And he was huge. Oh, he was strapping. Oh, his muscles and his strength. People talked about it for miles. People all the way from Nia Bay to Squaxin. They talked about the masculinity of this Squaxin. And so as he was walking down the trail one day, with his chest held high, everybody was getting out of his way because he had a really deep voice. And as he's walking, all the girls would giggle. But they would never talk to him. They were always so scared because he was so strapping. And this one girl, Acne, this one young lady, just about his age, was very pretty in that village in Port Townsend. And he had a fancy for her. It was an odd fancy because she was very quiet, very shy. And he came up to her on that trail that day, surprised her. Oh, she says, oh, and she jumps out of the way. Whoa, and who are you, And he was trying to make some casual conversation. And, she giggles, but ever so quietly. And wouldn't you know it, the story goes is that they get married not too long afterwards. And as they're living in their house, she was always so quiet, and this man was always so overpowering. And each night, after all their duties were done, they'd sit at the dinner table. She would sit on this end, and he would sit on this end. And she would never look at him. She always had her head down. It was not a marriage to be glorified. It was not two people together that people look up to. But as they were sitting there every night, he would look at her. What'd you do today, woman? Ooh. She would just jump. Oh, I made 2 hats. She was a really good hat maker. I made 2 hats, and I gathered clams, and that's it. And some bear grass. Nothing else was said that night, and the story goes on. Night after night, this would happen. Every night. What'd you do today, woman? And she, shake. She would just shiver at his voice. And she the same reply, and today I made 1.5 hats today. I gathered clams from the beach with my mahoit, which is Sklallam for basket. And well, why did you not make 2 hats? How come you did not get more clams? Well, I didn't. I was busy. I was gathering other berries. I was Oh, and she was oh so quiet. And the next day, she knew she was going to do something different, something out of the ordinary. And this is where the story gets interesting. Because she woke up early that next morning and she grabbed her stuff. She grabbed her mahoy. She grabbed everything that she was going to use that day to gather seafood and berries. And she left the door and she sat. She sat in the weeds just inside of where the canoes were landed. And she saw her husband walking out, get in his canoe, and travel away to go fishing for the day. Oh, okay. And she put her stuff down and she walks along the beach on this trail that was slightly overgrown. And she's walking and she comes out and she sees this giant rock. She'd been there long before, but this time it felt different. And so she climbs on top of that rock and she sits and she had the posture of an old lady, but yet she was very young. And she just sat there listening. And like a whisper, something came on the wind, blowing in her direction. Something soft, smooth. Oh. She listened harder. Oh, it was so peculiar. And so she gathered her material and she and she was walking back home, and she walks down this slightly overgrown trail. And on her way home, she decides, I better do something or else my husband's going to figure out that what I was doing, I wasn't doing what I was supposed to be doing. And so she gathers some clams on her way home, some berries. And that night at the dinner table, she had her shoulders up. She felt something in that song that was lifting her. And he was so surprised. Coming home, with a day's catch of salmon, the queechin. And he sits at the dinner table. "What'd you do today, woman?" And she didn't shiver. She didn't shiver that time. She just sat erect with her shoulders held back, looking him straight in the eyes. He knew there was something wrong. He knew she hadn't done what he was done. And she answers him, "Well, I gathered clams. I didn't make any hats. And I gathered some berries." And he looks at her, and it almost put some fear into his eyes, because it was something that he was so not used to. And it startled him. He was the one who was, and nothing more was said that night. And the next morning, she does the same thing. She gathers all of her stuff, all of her things that she needs all day long, puts it in her mahoy, her basket, sits in the weeds, waits for her husband to go out, but her husband, he had a different plan. He knew there was something wrong. He knew. And so he pulls out his canoe, gets in his canoe, and pulls out into the water. But he turns around and sees her as she's going down, her long black hair flowing behind her, and she's heading down this unbeaten path. And so he pulls his canoe back in, his snout back onto the beach, and hurries behind her. And he's following her. And she hears his footsteps, and she looks back. Her face gets white. She doesn't know what to do, and she starts running. And she runs, and he's running. And they run, and then her hair flowing behind her. He reaches out, grabs onto it, and with some strength that she never thought she had, she puts her head down and pulls her hair right out of the grips of his hand and keeps on running. So they're getting close to that big rock. And this happens again. He gets really close, grabs onto her hair. That's all that he can grab onto. He never knew she was so fast. And once again, she just buries her head in the forward motion, and she keeps going. And she sees the rock, and she starts to climb, and she gets up on it in 2 steps, this giant boulder right next to the water. And he looks up, and as he gets on top of that rock right behind her, all he sees is that she's diving into the water. And he looks over the edge, and it's a ways down. And he can see her long black hair flowing in the water as she dives deeper and deeper and deeper. And he can just make out through the shimmer of green a village down there. And they were holding their arms up, and he notices that they weren't people next to the longhouses, next to the totem poles. They were killer whales. They were the great Klumachins. And they were raising their arms with their button blankets, welcoming her back. And he stands there in awe, and he hears this song as if on the wind, a song of welcoming a lost soul back home. That is all I have. Thank you. And thank you, all these children. Yeah. Hot and sincere. No. Whew. Next up, we have a family song. It's from the Prince family. It's a song that me and my 8 cousins, aunts and uncles, we all received our names during a naming ceremony, another traditional aspect of our culture. And as you may know, my name is Hakwineth. And my brother, Quathlamson, we have decided to bring out our native tradition, and it's been a long time, but you know, it's growing ever since, and so we just wanted to bless the floor and in honor of our host, Squaxin tribe. Oh, wait. Um, so the next song we're gonna sing for you tonight is a song by Robert Lawrence, or Robert Eaglebear, and it's a song that means a lot to me. My first journey was last year. It was a life-changing event, and I think it was one of the first songs I ever learned on Journey, and it's really special that he can be here tonight. Is he here? Oh, sorry, he might have gone to bed. But anyways, we want to do this in his honor, and we just wanted to recognize Robert Eaglebear. For the next song we want to sing, we were going to ask if there's any volunteers from the crowd who'd like to help dance. I think that was the request that we'd like to make, and it's a simple paddle song, and it would honor us if you came down and followed along with our lead dancers, Paddle song. while we get this next song started, it just occurred to me that I truthfully don't know the tribal council's names of Squaxin Island. Who would like to know their names?
Andy Whitener, the treasurer of the council.
Dave Wolfman, Chairman.
Ray Peters, council member.
Arnold Cooper, Vice Chairman.
Charlene Kreis.
Jim Peters, council member.
All right, my name is Jeremy Munson from Jamestown, from the Adams Hall family. The next song we're going to do is Hoo-Ah Hoo-Yay. Some of you might have heard it by now. So if you know it, we invite you to come on down and give a little dance. Here we go.
So, while everybody sits back down, we're going to hand out some gifts from the Jamestown Canoe family. And if it's a surprise to you, then it's a surprise to me. I'm a puller, so. But I know that they had a lot of time spent put into making, creating, and overall putting together these gifts for all of you. You know, it means a lot from the bottom of our hearts to be invited to such an event, and you know, and this is just a small way that we can give back. You know, our songs, you know, are our backbone of our culture. The canoe, you know, it rests, you know, at the forefront. And you know, I think culture is about tradition, and this is tradition. You know, when you come and you visit another tribe, especially long ago, the hosting tribe expects gifts, and you know, and in return, they will give them, you know, food, a place to stay, and which Squaxin has been so great. Let's give them a hand. And if our ancestors were treated as well as we're treated now, I think there'd be something to say about that, because you know, my toilet's clean, the showers are nice, and the food is great.
Okay, we need an elder, a youth.
If we could have a Squaxin elder and a Squaxin youth representative, and the vice chairman, if you would step forward, please. We have a gift for you. And these were handcrafted by members of our Canoe family. They were cut out by hand, sewed by hand. And and these are wall hangings. They're presented in your house, over a fireplace or in a room. Probably not in a closet, but I think that wraps it up for the Squaxin Canoe family. I see we're still handing out some gifts. Hurry, 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 hurry. Oh. Well, I think we can roll the floor over to Port Gamble, Nuket, the mighty nation of Nuket. And before they walk out and rock the house, the Squaxin Canoe family cordially and formally ask your permission to leave your shores.
On behalf of Squaxin Island Tribe, we first of all wanted to say how grateful we are for your stories, your songs, and thank you for being here, answering the call, and coming and partying with us, potlatch style. And yes, we give you permission to depart. But we hope you stay for the potlatch. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you, everybody.